Good day everyone, my name is Carl Patrick S. Corpus, together with Hazel Ann Cagazan, Paul Angelo Borja, Christine Joy Cabas, and Norman Cruzat. We are the Group 3 to present the endorsement, the memo tone, the memo parts, and format.
Once again, I'm Hazel Ann M. Cagasan, together with Mr. Paul Borja. For today, we are going to discuss the endorsement. Next slide. But let's define what is an endorsement. An endorsement may be a signature authorizing the legal transfer of a negotiable instrument between parties, or it can be an amendment to a contract or document. For example, life insurance policy or a driver's license. Endorsement is also called a public declaration of support for a person, product, or service. In business or in legal matters, an endorsement refers to a signature or an equivalent stamp that authorizes payment or a transfer of funds or other financial transaction. And it refers to a note, amendment, or clause to an official document or contract that modifies or specifies the terms. In general context, an endorsement is an act of saying or showing that you agree with or support something or someone. The endorser may or may not be compensated. So, for example, an actor might endorse a political candidate appearing at campaign rallies or making speeches. Next slide. So, there are three types of endorsement. First is the signature endorsement. It is an act of signing the check, which serves as proof of the payer's intent to transfer funds to the payee. So a signature on the back of the check indicates that the transaction is complete and allows the transfer of money ordered by the check. Next is the insurance endorsement. It is the amendments in the form of modifications or addition to the original policy. Typically, this type of endorsement increases the policy premium due to the added benefits to the policyholder and beneficiary, and the increased risk to the insurer. And lastly, the license endorsement. It refers to the types of authorized vehicles or the type of cargo vehicle that may carry. It adds rights or privilege to a driver. So, for example, a motorcycle endorsement on a license gives a driver a permission to operate a motorcycle on public roads. Next.
I'm Paul Angelo Borja, and to continue the discussion in here, there are also types of endorsement letters. First one is professional endorsement letters. It is a letter of recommendation which is usually written by an employer on behalf of an employee who is seeking other job opportunities. This letter can be very useful in helping a job applicant to secure a particular position. And under this kind, there is an employee endorsement letter. In a letter which it has to advocate a company or an idea, the person should include various types of information to ensure the right effect to be caused by endorsement. The second kind, which is under this professional endorsement letter, is product endorsement letter. It is a public declaration from a person or organization in support of a product's feature, quality, benefits, and or plan. The second one is academic endorsement letters. It is a document written by someone you know through academia and can speak to your strengths and help you gain entry into a school or land of job. Under this kind, there is university endorsement letter. This is a college recommendation letter which is to endorse a college applicant that is written to bolster chances for admission. Second type that is under this kind is student endorsement letter. This is being made if a particular student is in the objective of admission in a particular school. The third kind of endorsement letter is personal endorsement letters. These are letters intended to promote oneself, allowing all of the personal information to be seen. Under this, it includes endorsement letter for a friend, giving all the valuable information to a close one in order for that friend to recommend his or her specialties and characteristic that could be beneficial to intended company. The second type that is under this kind of endorsement letter is character endorsement letter. Rather than speaking to your work experience and skills, as a work reference might, a character reference attests to your character and interpersonal abilities. Well, it is usually given by someone who knows you well enough and long enough to give the requester an idea of the kind of person you are. Next slide. So bear in mind the importance of endorsement letter. Endorsement is needed whenever a company needs a wide reach for its products. Endorsement letters act as a kind of advertisement, and it becomes a big responsibility. So people are asked to write an endorsement letter for someone who needs to get support or recommendation from someone whose words can affect other people. People who write the endorsement letter should be careful as to who they are endorsing and why. Moreover, there should not be any unlawful purpose for which they endorse someone. And that people who have to write endorsement letters should make sure that they are not recommending someone with a criminal history. Next slide.
Okay, we have here tips in writing endorsement letters. So first, this letter is a formal letter, and therefore, the person writing this letter should try to adopt a formal approach. Second, the wording used in the letter should be straightforward and clear. Third, when you write an endorsement letter in support of someone, just make sure that you don't over-exaggerate. While admiring the subject of the letter, make sure that you don't use an unrealistic approach. Fourth, make a list of the key attributes and qualities of the person you think you are worth your support. Talk about all those qualities, and your tone should show that you are confident in supporting that person because of those qualities. And lastly, while writing the letter, keep the purpose of the letter in mind. So for example, if you are endorsing someone because you think that person needs to be supported to make it easy for him to get the job, tell the recipient how the candidate is the best fit for the job. Next.
After all the information that is presented, here is the format of endorsement letter. So for the first part of the letter, it includes the basic information, your name, company name, address, city, and after this, write the date. Now include the recipient's name, address, city, state, zip code, and contact details also as to know where the letter is going to be sent. For the first paragraph, it should contain the reason on which why you are writing it. But first, introduce yourself or your company, then state why you intend to endorse a person. For the main body, It should contain the reason behind your endorsement. You can explain the records of what the person, company, product did for you or your business, how they benefited your company, increase your sales, solve your networking needs, etc. and etc. You can also include the details of the person's employment with you or your knowledge of their skills, accomplishments, and qualifications if the endorsement is for job applicants. If for products, you have to let them resonate with your brand and be keen on working with you. Now, in closing part, you can suggest the same one more time while initiating contact. For the end part, don't forget to sign above the type name as UN, as it will add up to the validation percentage of the letter. That concludes our presentation for endorsement, and together with Hazy Ann, we're done in our part.
So thank you.
So we're going to talk about now the memo or memorandum. Now, let Christine Joy will discuss about it.
So good day, everyone. Now let's have the memo or memorandum. Next, please. So what is a memo? So a memo is a short message that's typically used to communicate official business policies and procedures within a company and school. So memos are usually meant as mass communication to all members of an organization rather than a one-on-one personal message. And the memo is a format that is commonly used in many courses and in certain circumstances. The memo format is used to deliver assignments to you as well. And this is not only allows you to gain experience in creating a professional paper, but it also encourages you to consider your writing as having a purpose and being directed at a certain audience. Next, please. So let's have the when you should write a memo. So for the most part, the purpose of writing a memo is to inform. However, memos can occasionally include a call to action or a persuasive element. And here are some instances when a memo might be useful. First is to inform students about school policies or process changes. Second is to provide an update on key projects or goals. Third is to make an announcement about the school or about the exams. Next is reminding students about a task that needs to be completed. Fifth is making a request of all students. And lastly, communicating a message that schools will refer to more than once, such as detailed proposal or recommendation. Next, please. So all memos consist of two sections, the heading and the body. The heading indicates who is writing to whom, when, and why, and the heading should include the following parts. Next, please. First is who. The list and the names of everyone who will receive the memo or the recipients, and including the first and last name and titles or departments of the recipients for formal memos or memos to superiors, or if everyone on the list does not know each other. And if all recipients know each other's names and positions, you may use the first initial and last name of each recipient. Next, please. And number four, it can be listed alphabetically or by rank. And if it is not possible to fit all the names in the two area, use the phrase "see distribution list." Number six, at the end of the memo, add the word distribution and then list the names of the people who will receive a copy of the memo. And lastly, arrange the names by rank, department, or alphabetically. Next is list the name of the writers in the same way as the names of the recipients. And number two, there is no complementary clause or signature line, but authors initial their names on the from line. Next, please. Next is the date. It should indicate the list of the month, date, and year the memo was written, and do not use abbreviations and avoid using numbers for months and days. And for the subject, you should indicate the main subject of the letter, and you should be as specific and concise as possible. And lastly, C or carbon copy. It is the list of those readers who should have a copy of the memo for their information or reference but are not expected to carry out the same action as the recipients listed in the line 2. And CC can also be placed at the end of the memo below the distribution list if used. Now let's move on to the body of the memo. So the body of the memo, which conveys the message and generally consists of 4 parts. First is the introduction, which it states the general problem or main idea. Second is the statement of facts, that states the facts or discusses the problem or issue. Next is the argument, which explains the importance or relevance of facts. And lastly is the conclusion. Next, please. Which summarizes the main idea, suggests or request action. And memos do not have a complementary clause or signature line. And lastly, memos end with a call to action. Now let's have Mr. Carl Corpus.
So my name is Carl Corpus. I am going to show you an example of memorandum. And we have here a letter. So Ms. Cabas earlier explained how that the letter should start to a header that clearly indicates that a communication is memorandum. The intended recipients, the sender, the date, and the subject should be included. So here I have the letter for the all school staff, which is from me, the administrator, for example, and the date that when I created this letter here to the teachers or the all school staff. We have the subject, which is the midterm exam, where that letter is all about. When we are writing an introduction for the next step or format in writing a memorandum, we use a declarative sentence to announce the main topic of the memo. When we are talking about declarative sentence, it makes a statement or any statement from vitally important information to a minor detail. So include a body paragraph with discussion points that elaborate or list the main ideas associated with the memo's topic after the introduction. So we have here the introduction. The midterm exams are scheduled to take on April 18, 2022. Inform the students of the school a schedule once it is officially created so they can prepare themselves ahead of time. And to make the memo easier to read, write in short paragraphs and break the information into smaller or more manageable chunks. So earlier, Ms. Cabas explained that we should also include the statement of fact, the argument, before the conclusion. So we chunk the information into subcategories of ideas. So we have the week here. The week before the exam will be Catholic Brethren's celebration of Holy Week. So all concerned faculty members are thus notified that asynchronous classes will be held on April 11 to 15, 2022. So that is our statement. And we are here, we have the argument, which in the advisory no requirements shall be required to submit on the aforementioned dates, etc. And we have also here the conclusion, which conclude your memo with any remaining information following the body paragraph. This is a summary of the memo and should clearly inform the reader of any action required. So here we have a simple and one paragraph, one sentence rather, conclusion. So we have the closing remarks, which close with your name. The closing remarks here, and we have the details about the sender, which is my name, my email address, and the phone number in case anyone needs to contact me. So, and ensure also that the attachment or necessary attachments are included if your intended recipients will need to refer to other information such as graph, image, or chart. So below are the end of the memo. Here, an example of graph. So that is for writing a memo. And after making a memorandum, we will distribute it. So memos may be distributed manually through print medium in organization in which not all employees have access to email. Organization with access to email may distribute memos as attachments to email. So those are all about the memos.
Hello, good day everyone. I am Norman D. Cusat and today we are going to talk about the memo tone. So, let us first define what is tone. So, tone is your attitude towards a subject and it is revealed through a written language. The tone influences how your reader will emotionally respond to the content and subject. This, in turn, influences how they feel about the brand and how will they react or make decisions accordingly. So, what are the most common tone used in creating a memo? Memos are type of document that usually have formal tones. Memos following conversational style are slightly informal in tone, but it is still professional. Casual tone can be used in a memo to a coworker you know well. So, because memos are usually issued in companies, business, and academe, so it should be formal in tone because we are on a professional field. Next is the importance of a memo tone. It is the reflection of the writer and it does affect how the readers will perceive the message. So in this case, the memo is a much considered on creating, or the memo tone is a must when creating a memo because the tone of the memo reflect what is the message all about and it reflects the degree of the seriousness of the memo that the writer emphasizes. So that's all for my discussion about the memo tone, and I hope you learned something from it, and thank you.